this is WhyBeAre with BeamNG.drive, and today we're going to be taking a look at a mod for the Ibishu Covet called the V6R4. And as you can see, there are quite a few different versions of the vehicle available, but we're going to be starting off with the homologation version, which is the most stock version there is. But it's kind of hard to consider a homologation vehicle stock considering how modified it is compared to a normal Ibishu Covet. So right off the bat, you can see this thing has huge fenders on it, so it has a much wider wheelbase than a normal Covet. The front bumper is a different design that's a little bit wider, so it matches up with the wide body kit. And the same goes for the rear bumper. And if we look in there, you can actually see there's the engine in the rear of the vehicle. And it has a pretty cool looking wing on it as well. And then on the top, we also have an air intake, which is what cools the engine. And when we go inside the car, you can see the interior is different as well. So the whole dash has been completely replaced with a V6R4 version that I'm assuming is more lightweight and efficient. And all the gauges seem to work properly. So you have blinker lights, parking brake light, which is already lit up. So we'll go ahead and release the parking brake, and you saw the parking brake did move when I did that. Steering wheel works. Pedals work, but they're really hard to see at this angle. And then you see tachometer is working and speedometer is working as well. And then if we go ahead and get this thing back to a stop again, behind us, we don't have any rear seats. We just have an engine. And then of course the roll cage that's surrounding us as well. And I'm going to go ahead and take a closer look at that engine. So we're going to use the relative camera so I can just kind of zoom out to over here. And you can see it's an Ibishu V6 engine just snugly packed right behind the chairs of the driver. So I'm assuming it would be really loud in this thing. But the way BeamNG.drive is made, if you're using an interior camera, well, you're going to get the interior camera noise. So we'll go back to the exterior camera and do some driving with this. So this version of the car has a 300 horsepower and a red line of 7,000 RPM. So it's quite a bit faster than a normal Ibishu Covet. And the way it handles is pretty different as well, considering there's so much more weight in the rear than the front now. Like, if you open up the hood on this thing, there's literally nothing there. It's not even a storage spot. It's just empty space because this is a race car, man. We don't need storage in the front. We need it to be light. And it is a pretty light vehicle. It only weighs 2,200 pounds. The normal rally Ibishu Covet weighs 2,300 pounds, so it's 100 pounds less than that. And this is a wider vehicle that has a V6 engine instead of an inline-4 engine, and it has a all-wheel drive system. And in the description for the vehicle, it says Ibishu only had to build 500 of these vehicles for homologation purposes, but they ended up making 1,500, and I assume that's from consumer demand. And any company who's going to make additional homologation versions of the vehicle is awesome, because those probably aren't going to be super profitable for them. That's just so they can get their car into rally racing. And now, let's go ahead and try to do a little bit of rally racing with this thing, because it feels like a rally car at its heart. I mean, there's rally versions and hill climb versions, but this feels and looks like this is what the car was designed for. And oh, a little bit bumpy right there. And this thing feels great right here. You would think it might be a little bit unstable with so much weight in the rear, but it's not, because you got the all-wheel drive to keep you a little bit safer than if it was just rear-wheel drive. And just like that, we're through the dirt road, and I think it's about time we wreck this thing up. So we're gonna go as fast as we possibly can and just crash into whatever tree happens to be near me when I start to go off the road. So we're going about 115 here. Let's see what tree it is. That is the lucky tree. And that whole front caves in really easily because that thing's a crumple zone now. There's no engine there. So it just goes crumple. And oh my goodness, it still drives. I got no steering. It still drives. How in the world is it driving? I looked at that and I just assumed, oh, there's no way that thing could put down power. But it can, and it crashed. And, you know, I'm looking at this, and I swear it looks like it'd be smaller than an Ibishu Pigeon. So we gotta go ahead and test this real quick. We're just gonna spawn up a regular Ibishu Pigeon right next to this and see, is it actually shorter than an Ibishu Pigeon? So we'll go, well, let's see, go up above. Yeah, it is shorter than a pigeon because it's been crushed so much. That is hilarious. So now we'll remove the pigeon and then reset the vehicle. And we'll keep driving this around for a little bit more because I think this is my favorite version just to drive because it's the most streetable. The other ones are more dedicated rally car and dedicated hill climb car, where this one feels like it's a monster in the streets that has just the right amount of power. The other ones are a little bit too powerful and you have to be careful with the throttle. This one you can floor it whenever you want and not have to worry about the car possibly spinning out. So we'll cut that corner beautifully. I'm gonna probably stay away from those trees, so we're gonna cut this corner as well. And here's my house. Yeah, right, if only I could afford a house like that. Anyways, we're gonna be nice and careful as we go down the hill. You know, I actually probably could afford a house like that if I didn't live in California, but then I wouldn't make as much money, so it's a trade-off. Anyways, we're gonna get this thing up to speed. We're gonna try to scrape a tree. Nope, we didn't scrape any trees there. There's a scrape. Whoop! And it scraped me and grabbed me, so we're just gonna take a look at the fenders. The front fender there is gone. That rear fender looks okay. And front fender gone, rear fender looks okay, and we can actually jiggle this car forward a little bit. That's weird. After that last drive, I'm kind of curious to what would this car do if you try to just use it as an off-road vehicle. So that means not even following the dirt path, just driving through the grass like I'm doing right here. That worked okay. I mean, it has enough ground clearance, I would think, to be perfectly capable of all this, as long as you're not trying to climb over a bunch of rocks or something like that. Like, nice and easy up that. No, we got water. Go through the river. And gas. So the secret is you go fast, and then you let up on the gas. You let it kind of coast through, and then you hit the gas again. You want to get as close as you can to 100% without actually hitting 100%. And we'll just keep on driving through the grass right here. Got to be careful of all these trees. Like, there's really not much area to go because there's so many trees, and they're getting tighter and tighter, and this is a fat car. It is not good if fitting between the trees. Like, can it even fit through these trees? Oh, I think it can. I just got to realign it a little bit. Back it up a tiny bit and then go. Well, I got my wheel caught, but it did make it past it. And it looks like there's a road right to our right. So let's just try to make our way to that, because driving through the trees is too stressful with this car up. A little bit stuck, and we are through. Now we get to drive on a dirt road. This is one of the more bumpy dirt roads. This isn't a rally one. This is more of an off-road one. So this works great to test if the vehicle would work on a more bumpy terrain like this. And the answer is yeah, it's doing a fine job. I have no problems with the way it's driving. And now we're back to a paved road, and I'm going to wreck this thing up, so we're just going to floor it at that hill and see if it destroys it or not. Got some good airtime. Oh! I just noticed the hood is actually latched at the front. It's not normally latched there. Usually it's latched at the rear. That's kind of interesting. And we can still drive this thing, so let's keep on going. We're going to drive it until it dies, and if it won't die, I'll kill it myself. Can we get it stuck right here? Like, if we park it perfectly? Ha! Yeah, it is stuck. We reverse out? Nope, we're mega stuck. So you gotta, call in the tow truck to say, hey, grab me and pull me out. Here we go. Whenever I see the stripe at the bottom like that, it makes me think of the original Ford GT350, which might have been the first road car ever to have stripes on it. I want to say that's a fact I actually read and I didn't just make it up, but don't quote me on it because that could be wrong. Oh, there's a flip and a spin, 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 spin. Oh. All right, this thing can't drive anymore, right? Okay, it keeps driving. I wonder, is the vehicle almost unbreakable because the engine is so well protected with the roll cage surrounding it and stuff? That's crazy. Now, I don't have much steering here, though, so we're just going to end up in these rocks. And probably in the water eventually, because I can't do anything anymore. The front is too beat up. And into the water. And since the car is going to drown, we can go ahead and go to a different map to try out the other versions of the car. So let's go to a place where you can really rally this thing. So how about Black Hills, USA? And now we're going to be taking a look at the rally spec version of the V6R4. And actually a few of these vehicles are really, really similar. The Retro, Rally Spec, Note Online, and Ibishu Rally Team are all the same vehicle with a different color to them and then different wheels in some situations. So I'm going to pick the one I like the looks of the most, which is the Note Online, which kind of has that Delta Integrale style paint job. So it has the red and the blue swooping along on a white car. And we're just going to try to drive this thing around for a little bit and see how well I can stay on the road. So this one is more powerful than the one we were driving earlier. It has 400 horsepower. That's 100 more than the other one. And the red line goes all the way up to 9,000. That's 2,000 more than the other one. And it has an oil cooler to keep all that cool. Now it has a slightly longer gearing setup and a slightly different torque split to it. But otherwise, it's pretty similar to the homologation version. And this really is one of those cars where you notice the extra horsepower. There's some times where you're driving along and you don't really notice the difference between a car with 300 and 400 horsepower because it has electronic stability control that keeps you in line. But with this car, it has no assist like that. So you really notice the extra 100 horsepower. You can't just floor it in the middle of a corner like you could with the other one. You gotta be gentle with the throttle, which is what I'm trying to do, and I'm mostly staying on the road. And now we're actually gonna get to the paved road, and I see a good place to jump. We're gonna try to jump this thing and see how it goes. I'm gonna even put a little bit of slow-mo into this because I think it's gonna be a dramatic looking jump. So up into the air, we see that front just jiggling, and then we'll go ahead and let it fly to the ground. What is it gonna do? Is it gonna land pretty smoothly? That is pretty smooth. Oh, we're on fire. Well, it was smooth until we caught on fire and almost crashed into that hangar right there. That was really close. I guess we can keep going. I'm gonna just let it go straight until it crashes into something else. I'm assuming eventually there'll be another jump that'll wreck it Going through the bumpy terrain. There's a jump. A little bit slow-mo on it so you can see it. And then part 2 of the jump. We're going upside down. It's all over. It is all over. Wait. Right side up. I think it's going to roll though, isn't it? Yep, it's going to roll. And roll and roll. We have a lot of momentum here, so I'm just going to speed this up so it can finish rolling. I like how the hood is just flapping all about right there. And we could keep driving this thing actually, but I got no steering here. And I mean at all. Like, we're just going whichever way the car decides to go, because when I hit left and right, you see nothing's happening there at all. So where is the car gonna end up? Eventually it'll land upside down, I would assume, in this terrain. I mean, it almost did it last time. I just got lucky it didn't. Again, watching that hood bounce all over the place. Oh, hey! It fixed itself! Thank you, hood, for fixing yourself. I really appreciate that. When you were broken, I was sad. And we're actually up to 90 miles per hour and we haven't flipped yet. That's surprising. Maybe it's never gonna flip. Oh, it's just gonna spin out. Well, that's boring. Just reset it. And before we swap this car out for another one, I want to put this thing outside so you can actually see it nice and clearly. Because I haven't given you guys a good look at this because you start in the darkness here, which is a less than ideal location for this. So we're just gonna park it right there. Now the body kit, as far as I can tell, is the same as the homologation version, but it has that cool paint job on it. Alright, so now we're gonna go ahead and swap this out for another one that's identical in terms of performance, but it has a different paint job. We're going to get the V6R4 Retro. And the design on this car looks really similar to the design you can find on the MG Metro rally car. It even has those big obnoxious fenders just like this one, which I love. Like, they're obnoxious, but they're also beautiful in how functional they are. They give you a wider wheelbase, and they might even help with aerodynamics a little bit, but I know they're mostly there just to give your car more wheelbase width and make it handle better. Whoa. Alright, I didn't spin out. And somehow we ended up at the exact same place we were before. Feels so weird because like that time we went to the right, but last time we went left and we ended up in the same spot. Anyways, let's just drive this on a paved road for a bit. It tops out pretty soon because it only has 5 gears, I think. Let's double check that. 135. And we are now bouncing off the rev limiter, so this is its top gear. We're going to look for something fun to crash into. It looks like we crashed into that sign, right? But there's a small barrier there. We'll just crash in that barrier, so we don't want to do that. We'll keep on driving. I see a different sign we can crash into up there. This car's doing great at top speed. Like, it's nice and stable on the paved road. And now it's going to be nice and destroyed on the sign. I'm going to use 100 times slow-mo here because we're going over 100 miles per hour. And that is perfect impact location. Ooh, we're going so fast the game don't even know what to do. My goodness gracious. Welcome to Nevada. That's all I can say to that is welcome to Nevada. Alright, we'll go ahead and speed it up just a bit. Wow. Does it still drive after that? Like, it might be able to put down power? I wasn't paying attention if it said main engine broken or anything. Oh, I bet it could. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and save the car, reset it, and then load that up. Oh, what a mess this thing is. It is mangled. But can it drive? Yes! This car is unstoppable. Like, probably unrealistically unstoppable, but it's fun sometimes to have a car like this, where it's just like, it's a ball of metal and fire, but it still moves at 40 miles per hour somehow. And if the transmission would shift, it could probably go even faster. So we're gonna go manual mode real quickly. Yep, now we're up to 50 and 60, apparently. It's hard to tell because we're bouncing so much. I just lost the door, I think. This poor car, it needs to be crushed. Hey look, we made it back to the city with my pile of junk. I can't steer at all though. I don't know how I made it here because I really have no steering whatsoever. Look, left, right, left, right. The tires didn't move one bit. Now we'll reset this for real. And next we're going to be taking a look at the V6R4 Ibishu factory team version, which is again, same vehicle, but different looks to it. And this one doesn't seem to really resemble any traditional rally car that I know of. If you know of one that looks pretty similar, feel free to leave a comment mentioning that. And for now, we're just going to get to driving this thing around. And since we've already driven this road, let's take a shortcut. We'll go through the bumpy terrain, see how well it handles that. And it looks like it handles it even better than the homologation version we were driving earlier. Although I'm sure it's going to flip over eventually. That was a big bump. Oh, that was a violent crash. Okay, reset this. And the last rally version we're going to be taking a look at is a little bit crazy. It's the twin turbo rally spec, which looks pretty similar to the homologation version we were driving earlier, but it has some significant differences. It's faster. A lot faster. This thing apparently has 1600 horsepower when you pull up the engine information in the game. And to make use of that kind of power, we need a paved road. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to park myself on this paved road, and then I'm going to floor it, and we see how long it takes to get up to like 100 miles per hour. Go! I think actually the main thing that holds this car back is the gearing. Like those first gears, it takes a while to go through them, but we're already up to 150 miles per hour. That is really fast. It's fast enough where I would say, you know what? I believe the claim of 1600 horsepower. And now we're going to go ahead and just do some off-roading right here. And wow, it's actually staying super stable. It must be the downforce keeping it level. Whoop. I mean, it was keeping it level until we hit an awkward bump that just popped us into the air. And once we were popped in the air, it's all over then. We could try to get to roll down the hill maybe, or is it kind of stuck? It is going. Although I don't think I could really drive it at all. I was just curious if I could get it unstuck. So we'll just go ahead and reset this thing. And I want to try just driving in a straight line again at high speed because it was so stable right there. I don't know if it was just a coincidence or what. So here we go again. We're not up to speed really yet, so it's going to be unstable. Now we're up to speed and it's bouncing. And that, when you're up to speed, it keeps this stuff really level and stable. That is amazing. I mean, we're bouncing all over the place, but I don't fear that the car is going to flip over until you hit a roll like that. And the wing just fell off, so there goes my stability as I just keep rolling all over the place. Anyways, I think that gives you guys a good idea of what the rally versions are like. Although this thing is still driving. Let's see, does it still have stability without the wing and stuff attached? Let's see, no, it doesn't. I don't think it does. We're not even going fast enough to tell, are we? Not really. Like, we needed to go over 100 miles per hour for maximum stability, and now we're just rolling over anyways. You know what? I was going to change maps, but we're going to let this car drive a little bit more, see what it can do. Seems like it has the will to drive. I bet it can do 10 more minutes of driving. I say that and I'm going to flip it over right here and it's not going to land upright. Watch. Ha! Called it. Shouldn't have said nothing. Alright, anyways, what I was trying to do earlier is go ahead and swap maps so we could check out the hill climb version. So we need a map that's like a hill climb, and I think Stairway Mountain should be pretty good for that. And the hill climb one is really similar to the rally one. It just has a different suspension setup that's more suited for a hill climb and a slightly different gearing setup. And it's kind of unusual because it's not exactly shorter or longer because some gears are shorter and some gears are longer. So anyways, let's go ahead and try to take this thing down the mountain without wrecking it. And I actually think this is a pretty safe car to drive. It has good performance and good stability, so you're probably not going to crash it here, even if you're driving at it a little bit recklessly. So I'm going to go a little fast in the corners sometimes like that, but when I get so close to that wall, I get scared. I just get scared. This is actually a pretty good map for this kind of driving though. It's all lower gearing, which is kind of this car's strength, and it's a lot of tight cornering, which is again this car's strength. I mean, that's kind of like hill climb cars are though. Really tight corners in really small hilly roads and climbing them, and maybe going down the hill too, because you know you got to get back down eventually, so why not race there? I'm actually doing pretty well with this thing. I figured I would have crashed by now, but we haven't, and I put that all down to the car because I crash here a lot using other cars, but something about this one is just doing really good. I gotta crash it eventually though, because this is a long road. There's no way I'd be able to just drive the entire road. So I'm gonna look for the next opportunity to do an interesting crash, and then I will do it. Maybe in that rock. Nah, that's not interesting. Don't crash into that. Ooh, climbing the wall. That's interesting. Can we get back up? Yes. Oh, you notice how I got radiator damage there? That's because the radiator is in the rear. So it's kind of cool that you don't get radiator damage slamming into things normally unless you actually damage the rear like I did right there. Now we're going to swap this out though, because there's another hill climb version that is the twin turbo one, just like the rally twin turbo. So it's the same as the car I'm driving, except 1600 horsepower, because why not? And with this one, it has so much power and this road is so tight, we're not going to really get to use that power, because every time I like go on the throttle, I have to hit the brakes about a half second later. So you're like, up, brakes. And we're going to floor it for a little bit right here, and then brakes. Like, you can't really use all that power, so I doubt my time would be significantly different. But it does have a lot of power, and I'm thinking, you know what? To really demonstrate how much power this car has in the 1600 horsepower version or the twin turbo versions, we should do a drag race, although not here because there's no straight roads to do a drag race on. We would have to go to a different map, and we'll do that in a minute. Let's see if I can do a few more corners with this thing without crashing. And it's actually surprisingly stable for a 1600 horsepower car. I mean, a lot of that is I know to respect the car, so I'm not using most of the throttle in the corners. But once I get out of the corner, I'm able to floor it pretty hard without concern. Alright, so now we're going to try to wreck this thing. We're just going to go as fast as we can and crash into whatever. And, oh, we just clipped that side, and that is an awkward looking crash, unfortunately. So, let's just get out of here and head over to, well, keep it simple for now and go to Grid Small Pure. So we're just going to do a quick drag race between the drag version of the Burnside Special, which is a little bit slower than the Moonhawk and Barstow drag versions. And we're going to be facing this off against the Hill Climb Twin Turbo V6R. So we got to make sure we get the right one. And I always want to call it the VR6 because of the VR6 engine, even though I know that's completely wrong. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put them both into realistic gearbox mode. Then we're going to rev them up, freeze physics, put them both to arcade gearbox mode, and then we unfreeze physics, and we should have a drag race going just like that. Except, wait a minute, what's going on there? Yeah, that car's fast. It's not faster than this. It looks like it just broke. So we'll try this again. This one will still rev it up, and then this one will just hit the gas pedal, I guess. There we go. That's a bit more what I expected. Yes, the other car is faster. It's a dedicated drag car, but it kept up decently well until it started topping out right there, and that really killed its speed, but it was doing a really good job of keeping up. So anyways, let's finish things up with Leap of Death. And if you couldn't guess it, we're going to be using the twin turbo one here because we got to go off the hill as fast as possible. And I figured the rally version would be a little bit better, has a little bit more ground clearance, so it can hopefully manage the ramp better than the hill climb version. So we're going to get up to 100 miles per hour about on the jump. That is a really impressive speed. I would not be surprised if this is a 2 crash jump where it goes crash, crash, and then we're in the water. So first collision. Oh, my wing just fell off. Oh, my aerodynamics are all ruined. Like, really, the car is flying different without the wing. That is a trip. Alright, collision 1. Severe damage every which direction. And, well, there's probably no point in slowing down the next collision, so we'll just let it go in full speed. And, that will do it for this video, although I'm kind of curious, can this thing still drive? Like, it still has the tachometer on, so I put it to manual mode and then try to rev it. Yeah, it can rev, but now we're in the water and it drowned. Anyways, as I was saying, till next time, it's WhyBeAre. I'll see ya!